Hello, I'm Fantastic and today I'm going to be talking about the Monster Hunter collab that has come back to North America once again. So I feel like Gung Ho and Monster Hunter have a special arrangement because this collab returns on a continuous regular basis, which is great because every time it does return, cards do receive buffs, and in the case of this 6th rerun, we have new weapon assists for every single 6-star and many buffs to the 7 and 6-star cards. Sadly, Gung Ho kind of forgot the 5 stars existed, so they've just continued to decline more and more as time goes on. With that being said, they're not terrible cards. They still can function as more budget resist solutions, but if you're like myself and have been playing for many years and have seen every single Monster Hunter run possible, there's a strong likelihood you have way too many Raytheons, and rolling number 7 will be quite disappointing, and for 10 magic stones, it could be quite painful to justify. At the same time, newer players I feel would have a much nicer time rolling because yes, you could acquire a 5-star card, it won't be the greatest, but still might possibly patch up a hole in your monster box, because I'm going to presume that if you've never rolled this collab in the past, there's a good chance your account is quite new, and having 60% resist for something still definitely can be meaningful. So, without further ado, let's start taking a look at the various cards present in the Monster Hunter collab. So, there are a grand total of way too many 7-star cards, way too many 6-star, and tons of 5-star cards. And it compromises 20% 7, 40% 6, and 40% 5-star cards. So, your rolling rates are technically quite high for a diamond or a 6-7-star at 60%, which is definitely pleasant. And remember, all the 7-stars and all the 6-stars each have 2 different weapon assists, and that gives them significantly more viability and flexibility, because if one form isn't appealing, there's a good chance another form will be beneficial overall. Unfortunately, I feel like this collab is definitely favoring it's become more and more top heavy. A long time ago, this event was a much better distribution. Like, these bottom rarity cards used to be much more meaningful and impactful because their 60% resists were kind of game changing at the time. But unfortunately, they are kind of languishing towards the bottom nowadays due to just being a lower rarity and not receiving the same level of buffs that the 6 and 7-star cards have received. So, let us take a look at the first 7-star card. So, Safi has been okay, so before I begin, all of the 7-star cards have access to 8 latent slots. That means they can have 4 killers or a super latent plus 2 others, or 2 space for 2 others, which essentially just gives them an extra edge already. These cards already have astronomically high weighted stats. Like, every card here has big health, big attack, big recovery, relatively speaking, compared to other cards of the same rarity. So this is just another great benefit to having even more latent slots. So Safi has been significantly upgraded because their leader skill is now much easier to achieve. Their leader skill still provides a comical amount of health, and now they provide damage reduction when you match 6 or more fire orbs. So you don't need to match 6 or more fire orbs for the damage reduction. Actually, you do need to match 6 or more fire orbs to deal damage, but my point is you can tank hits without the damage reduction. Like, 6.25 times health is gargantuanly high. Team health awakenings go even further for this team overall. So, point of the matter is, you will be quite difficult to actually kill, which makes your life much easier, of course, because if you can't die, you will eventually kill stuff. And you only need 6 fire orbs for their maximum damage multiplier, and that makes life easier because you can hoard and save orbs, you can use their active skill to make 10 more orbs, and you can basically smash through stuff given enough time. Now, the main drawback with Safi is that they have essentially no RCV. They have only 6% of the healing compared to a regular team. And that means you're not going to basically heal anything matching heart orbs. So to compensate or counter this, you need to rely and abuse the Kuro Yuri loop, or basically utilizing Akura Yuri's active skill across 2 different cards in order to have 40% of your maximum health healed every turn. So let's say hypothetically you have 500,000 health. Every turn you heal 200,000. So unless a spawn is going to be hitting more than 200,000 damage every single turn, and you're not triggering your damage reduction at all whatsoever, you're not going to really die. So this is what I mean by, like, you're not going to die, you're going to be able to last and survive much longer compared to other teams. Of course, at the same time, you must dedicate 2 active skills for this loop. Like, you have to use 2 out of your 6 possible active skills for healing when other teams don't have to worry about that. So that's definitely going to be a drawback because you have much less active skill diversity by comparison. And at the same time, this will be a slower playstyle because it's like, well, I'm going to tank and grind until I have enough orbs and then smash. So I feel like it definitely can clear content. It's just going to take time. For their weapon assists, I don't think they're particularly amazing. The opportunity cost of not using their base form, which can clear content, is too high. You get a Dragon Killer and 3 Fire Arrows. Sure, that is nice, but it's not really solving much in the ways of mechanics. And their weapon 2, I feel, does have a bit more interesting zest to it because it does give you full binary and Dark Orb Enhance, and it gives you an attack bonus along with changing the whole board to Dark and Heal Orb. So you get a bi-color board and an attack buff. Never a bad thing to have, and especially if you can protect a bind immune or bind vulnerable card, it definitely can be meaningful, but it's still a relatively situational weapon assist, whereas I feel like his base form can still be a potent leader. Next is Velkana, and Velkana has always been a strong leader, and now he's been just catapulted to even higher levels because of the fact that their damage reduction has been increased. They now have 4 times health, 484 times attack, 1 time to RCV, and 75% damage reduction with dual leaders. You have 16 times effective health. Most teams get only 4 times effective health. You have 4 times more health than the average team. Maybe the average team is a little bit higher. But my point of the matter is no one else has this much effective health, relatively speaking. And it's not going to be that inconsistent. You can leverage 4 times health. You're going to have say close to 150 to 200,000 health on your team. You can tank quite a few stuff without triggering the damage reduction. But before I go deeper into the leader skill, let's take a look at what the rest of their kit offers. So Velkana's Awakenings have 777 combo with VDP, and they have one of the highest attack stats in the game, so they're naturally going to be hitting exceptionally hard. They have 2 enhanced Heart Orb Awakenings, which can help provide more healing when you match 4 connected Heart Orbs. This is important because their leader skill needs you to hit 100,000 heal from Heart Orbs. And when you heal 100,000, you get that damage reduction. This is not tied to your attack multiplier. Your attack multiplier is tied to combo count. So even if you don't heal enough, you still can kill a given floor. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, with this massive amount of damage output potential, you have flexibility in terms of what subs you can bring to a certain extent because Velkanas themselves don't need to transform. So you can solve this healing problem, so to speak, with utilizing 7x6 boards. You can use an asymmetrical pairing. You can use Norza type active skills which buff RCV. Basically, you can find creative ways to hit that healing threshold, or you can just use more cards with the enhanced Heart Orb Awakening and just find ways to consistently hit that for the massive damage reduction. But what the main point I want to drive home is that if a card is incredibly durable, they tend to be a much better leader because, like Safi, if you don't die, you're eventually going to probably kill something, and Velkana is just going to be easier to use, much more explosive by comparison, much better personal damage, of course, for each leader, so things will be taking damage. And because they have 8 latent slots, as a leader, they could have the leader swap resist latent potentially with 2 others, or whatever you need for a given dungeon, you have a way to potentially solve your given problems. And their active skill gives you a massive attack buff, RCV buff, and Water Orb Skyfall buff, which is huge at plus 25%. So most likely you're going to have lots of Water Orbs falling down. You're guaranteed to hit that 100,000 healing. So for 3 turns, you're going to be basically damage capping and always healing back up to full health and having this 16 times effective health. Pretty magical card all around. By comparison, their weapon assists are much more inferior. Their first weapon gives you Cloud Resist, which is cool, but Cloud Resist is really dominated by Fagenrai and Amatsu, and the opportunity cost of not using their base form is so high. Their weapon 2 gives you Bind Immunity, Orb Enhances, and it can make 20 Water Orbs, but again, the same issue if you're losing out on utilizing Velkana in their base form. Alatreon has been buffed through their leader skill, and they can function as a viable pairing for Sienna or Beach Planner or whatever other card needs to activate from fire and water matches, because that's actually all they need to do to a certain extent. They just need to match 4 more connected fire or water orbs, so they definitely can asymmetrically pair. Their active skill will unlock all orbs, which is meaningful for Sena teams who can struggle against locked orbs, and then they make light plus some hazards to fire, dark plus poisons to water, so you have a useful orb changer. you have meaningful VDP personal damage. You also have a super poison resist. So I feel like Alatreon can definitely be a reasonable pairing or even a reasonable sub. But the main drawback is double Sena is definitely stronger. They have the systemable active skill. They have better personal damage. And as a sub, like, they are pretty nice, but you have to think, what are they competing against? They're competing against things like, say, Horus or Shiva, Christmas Grimoire. Is he going to be a superior choice to any one of these cards? That may or may not necessarily be the case, because Horus has that L, so you can always unlock orbs, and their active skill also has an on-demand orb unlock. Shiva also has poison resist, but a damage reduction active skill, which you need for World of Carnage 2. Christmas Grimoire is just the best fire cleric, really, at this point in time. So, like, Alatreon has lots of competition, so I feel like he is nice, but he is not the best at any one single aspect. For his weapon 1, it's 80% poison resist with some fire orb enhance, which is definitely nice, but at the same time, it may not necessarily be the active skill you want to have charging up, because it is a lower impact active skill due to the shorter base cooldown. His weapon 2 is what most people will probably be interested in if they're not going to pursue the base form, because it has 4 fire orb enhances, which is definitely large amounts of passive damage. It also has a highly valuable active skill. It gives you 2 turns of damage and color absorb countering. And one of those 2 aspects is essentially mandatory in endgame content. And the main drawback of this weapon is the 22 turn cooldown, because you're going to be able to use it maybe once in a dungeon, and it's going to either take a tremendously long time to charge up, or it's just never going to charge back up in time anyways. So I feel like that is definitely going to be the largest problem, because for a fire team for, say, World of Carnage 1, you need to have color absorb for Denbola early on, and then Manoa later on. You have damage absorb for Sopdet. You also have damage absorption through Green Crusader. So there's lots of places you possibly need to use these types of active skills. So you're going to have to rely on someone else to kind of fill in the, like, cover the turns where you don't have this 22 turn cooldown ready. Amatsu features a comically large attack set. Like, it's so big. And he also has 4/7 combos. And you might think, wow, a guy with huge health and lots of personal damage. 16 times personal damage must be good. And they also have a 5-turn base cooldown, so very easy to inherit over top of. But the main drawback is Amatsu has abysmally low attack stat. And your attack stat is obviously what influences how much damage you deal. So even though you have quadruple 7 combo, you have possibly half the attack of many other hard-hitting cards. So you basically kind of neuter that 4/7 combo, because if you had twice the amount of the attack value, he's basically the same as other 7/7 combo cards. So that is definitely problematic. And as a leader, he is outclassed by the fact that he can't use physical or dragon type cards. You can't use like Crab, Mieta, or other strong damage reduction 2 water combo based leaders. And in all honesty, it's just better to pursue his weapon assist 2, because his weapon assist 2 is one of the best weapons in the game. This weapon offers you a single skill boost and cloud resist, along with 2 team RCVs, which is plus 40% healing. It's a significant boost to your healing output potential. And with the skill boost and the 2 turns of haste, it can be 3 effective skill boosts. It can overwrite RCV and attack debuffs. I've even used this to, like, if I have enough skill boosts to transform, I can utilize the haste component to recycle active skills back up again in the early parts of a dungeon. Like, for instance, sometimes I was playing like 3-player dungeons with Sena with other people on stream, and it's obviously risky playing in solo because your allies can obviously screw you over, and also floor 1 just may not have fire or water orbs. So I would transform my Senas and then 2-turn haste to bring them back up to utilize one of the active skills to ensure I could activate all the time. You can do lots of cool shenanigans with the 2 turns of haste, and the attack buff and RCV buff obviously has merits for water teams, but it can also overwrite debuffs for any other team. One of the best weapons in the game, and it's one of my most commonly used weapon assists. Diablos has become a much stronger damage solution. He has 2 7 combos and a 10 combo, which means 20 times attack against any spawn, while also having a large attack set. Remember Amatsu? Poor guy. Amatsu has way less than half the attack set of Diablos and less personal damage multipliers with 1 extra awakening. Diablos needs 3 awakenings for 20 times. Amatsu needed 4 for 16 times with a way lower attack set. My point is, Diablos will hit infinitely harder compared to Amatsu, and that's the main reason why you don't want to use Amatsu in their base form. So, going back to Diablos here, huge amounts of personal damage, 8 latent slots, so you can have massive killer potential overall. But the main drawback with Diablos is his active skill. His active skill is a 24-turn cooldown, which is tremendously long, and it does enhance all orbs. It does do a 25% true gravity, which means it does 25% of the maximum health from a spawn. So you could potentially execute something. And then 1 turn of 5 times attack for Dragon Devil types. Like, this active skill feels underwhelming in the sense that it's not necessarily going to solve as many problems as you really would want it to do. For a 24-turn cooldown, I kind of expect a little bit more because True Gravity doesn't have much merit at this point in time. Maybe for the future Shura 3 or World of Carnage 3, which is not here whatsoever, maybe the True Gravity could have some benefits and merits. But for World of Carnage 1 and 2, I really don't think it has enough value. And with 24-turn cooldown, you can't really inherit something over top of it and make it meaningful. So that is problematic in itself there. Yes, you can kind of offset the cooldown with skill charge, but you're really essentially dealing with a dead weight active skill on a card who does hit hard, but you're not going to necessarily have as much utility as you want to bring for a given dungeon. Because even if you do manage to charge up their inherit, you're going to use it one time in a dungeon and never again. So big damage output as a sub, but active skill definitely holds them back. For their leader skill, they have far too little effective health. And yes, they do make a 7x6 board, so you can proc all the color activations you need, but without effective health, you're going to be dying to lots of mechanics that you wouldn't have normally found a problem already. Sadly, their weapon assists are not particularly great. His weapon 1 gives you bind immunity and a healer killer. Not too many places where we need to really utilize all of these awakenings overall. Highly situational weapon assist overall, and this active skill, yes, it's nice, so it's not going to necessarily charge up because of the long cooldown, but these awakenings are not necessarily the greatest overall. For their weapon 2, it does give cloud resist, but Amatsu's weapon is way better. Like, they're just better cloud resist options. And many players have Fagan Rai, and Fagan Rai is oftentimes going to be the default cloud resist option as well. So, not winning out for the cloud resist. And the active skill itself gives you full bind and awoken bind clear, which is helpful, but it doesn't remove unable to match orb effects. If it removed unable to match orb effects, this would be a much stronger weapon, because now you have an active skill that solves many problems in mechanics, because you need unable to match orb effect clearing pretty much all the time nowadays in current endgame content. So having that valuable active skill with the bind and awoken bind clearing, which is something else you need, with cloud resist, definitely could have made this a much better weapon. But the fact that they didn't include it makes this weapon okay. And okay is not what we really want to have when choosing cards for challenging content. The other component of this active skill is 1 million button damage 3 times. So you can do 3 million button damage, potentially. That is cool, but again, button farming can be highly situational. It may not necessarily be sufficient. Point of the matter is, it's a niche weapon assist that doesn't really excel in one particular aspect outside of the buttoning component, I feel. Nergigante has been greatly bolstered overall, and maybe I'm undervaluing them potentially, but again, if you have Nergigante and have had great success with them, let me know, because Nergigante, with their newly upgraded kit, can have double 10 combo, which means 25 times personal damage. They have a big attack stat, and they can potentially use 4 killers. They're going to be damage capping on a continuous regular basis. Pretty spectacular overall, but the best part is their active skill. Their active skill is a 7-turn cooldown and will generate a column of dark and a column of hard orbs, and then give 7 turns of dark orb skyfalls. So, one Nergigante can create a dark skyfall system, and it's superior to the 99 turn systems because it's plus 15, not 7%, which in turn means there is approximately a 31% chance for any dark orb to appear, assuming every orb has an equal amount of chance to appearing, so 16 point whatever percent plus the 15 results in about 31%. So point of the matter is, you're going to have dark orbs galore, and this obviously will have the most merits if you utilize 7x6 board, because you clear more orbs will fall down. This can definitely help alleviate the orb hungriness of any mono dark team, and perhaps some people might be able to get away using it on your Mikaj teams if you don't have Chris. But the thing is, Chris is still going to be the superior option because Chris has the ability to instantly make 6 dark orbs right away. Whereas Nergigante had to pray for Skyfalls and pray that they didn't actually match either. So you definitely can utilize Nergigante in any Mono Dark team, and whenever you hit 10 combos, you're basically going to be damage capping, which in itself is tremendously meaningful. Their weapon 1 has a skill boost, and they seem to gain 1 more orb enhance with every rerun of Monster Hunter. Maybe one day this will be a skill boost with 7 orb enhances. Who knows what's going to happen in like the 10th Monster Hunter rerun, because I feel like it's going to come back every year. But the point of the matter is, it's a 1 skill boost card with orb enhances, and it does have that same active skill, but the opportunity cost of not using his base form I feel is too high, because this is providing so much value overall. For their second weapon assist, it does give you 4 turns of 50% damage reduction along with nice passive damage, plus changing the bottom row to Dark Orbs. So in World of Carnage 2, where you need to have damage reduction, it's definitely going to be a meaningful weapon assist. But at the same time, again, the opportunity cost of not using the base form, which is good in every kind of dungeon really, and the fact that damage reduction is not truly needed outside of World of Carnage 2 does make this weapon just much more situational, and it leads me to believe that Nergigante will be best served in their base form. Next is Zenogra, and Zenogra continues to become a tremendously overloaded card, because with their current form, they have double 7 combo with 10 combo, so that means 20 times personal damage with a large attack stat again. They have 2 skill charges, which means their 21 turn cooldown active skill is now potentially 7 turns, and this active skill is unbelievably strong. It gives you 2 turns of color absorb counter and damage absorb counter, and it can be potentially 7 turn cooldown. And you need to have at least one of these components in any given dungeon nowadays. So this is a mandatory active skill which can be charged up blisteringly fast. You have unbelievable personal damage, you have a monstrous attack stat, and a huge health stat as well, and you also have a fantastically strong leader skill. This leader skill allows you to have potentially 87.75% damage reduction, but you probably want to asymmetrically pair because you want to get bonus combos to tap into the 10 combo to regularly crush stuff. But with this leader skill, all you need to do is match 4 combos, and that gives you 50% damage reduction. That's like the lowest threshold I've seen in quite some time. And then 4 colors for the other 30%. So you have massive amounts of damage reduction on an incredibly easy basis. It should be so easy to actually trigger your damage reduction, which in turn makes you difficult to kill. And as a whole, I think Zenogra is just a brokenly strong card in the sense it's been overloaded. It's got one of the highest weighted stats, or the highest in the game, and in my opinion, it does surpass New Year's Reach as the best rainbow sub in the game, because New Year's Reach has a similar active skill, but Zenogra has way better stats, way better personal damage, charges up faster. You may not necessarily need the 2 turns of counter, that 2 turns may be enough, 3 turns may not be necessary, but it's just the fact that you do more damage, you charge up faster, have better bulk. I feel like Zenogra is just the best rainbow sub in the game, and you get 2 more latent slots. Magical card overall. For their weapon assists, they're not as powerful because you're giving up the opportunity of utilizing the base form, which is much stronger, because this weapon assist 1 has the same 21 turn active skill cooldown, but you can't use skill charge to make it charge quick enough, so it's not going to be appropriate. Weapon 2 does give you potentially a large amount of attack bonus for light row teams, but again, his base form is so strong overall. Next is Fatalis, and Fatalis has a comically large attack stat, a large health stat, which is min-maxed well because they have basically no RCV, which is fine because their leader skill gives you a large RCV multiplier anyways. But Fatalis has 3 VDPs, 7 combo Super Awakening, and 3 Ls. So the main drawback is too many of these awakenings are going to go to waste. You're not going to necessarily be matching a VDP and an L at the same time. It's going to be hard to do. So that is definitely a problem in itself there. So your offensive awakenings are somewhat going to waste. If those Ls, you kept 1 L and made the others 7 combos, it'd be more consistent overall, perhaps, in terms of damage output on a regular basis. So you can tap into that huge attack stat. For their active skill, it creates 10 Dark Orbs in 2 different Ls on the board, and you also give 2 times orb movement time and 2 times attack. So great for overriding debuffs, great for helping you burst and kill down spawns. As a leader, you have huge multipliers. This is a large amount of effective health, a huge RCV multiplier, so you always can heal back up to full health, and a large attack multiplier. The main drawback is you have to match an L every time. Luckily, it is an L of any color, so infinitely more flexibility, and their leader skill also grants you plus 5 seconds of orb movement time, so it's going to be much easier to achieve. Now, on 6x5, it's going to be, I think, a terrible experience, because on 6x5, you're not going to really be able to make follow-up attacks, VDPs, and Ls, which are going to be necessary against many spawns, because they have voids and resolve at the same time, and then overcoming combo shields will be hard. So to compensate, you can utilize 7x6, either 7x6 leader swapping Fatalis in, or utilizing the Peacock Queen, who has very similar activation requirements in terms of matching Ls, but they give you 7x6 by default, so you don't have to worry about leader swapping in. Obviously, with 7x6, you have to be mindful of the fact that it has a penalty when you play through current content, because 7x6 has advantages. They tend to be penalized through various other mechanics. So in summary, Fatalis could be a strong leader on 7x6 for sure, but the drawback is you have to match L and VDP, and you don't have auto follow-up attack. A lot of things that could be problematic when facing spawns that are overloaded with mechanics. For their weapon assist, their weapon assist 1 has 5 resists, but they're not all the same. It was, say, 5 poison resists. This would be so cool because you never have to worry, but you still have to find another 40% coverage, which may be difficult to achieve. The L is definitely nice, but I would probably still think about utilizing his base form, at least to experiment with the cool new upgraded leader skill. And his weapon 2 is kind of awkward. It does follow-up attack, it does tape resist. Like, those are unique awakenings, but there are not many times where you actually need to have this type of weapon assist, I feel. And the active skill itself is kind of odd. You have 2 turns of no skyfalls, and then for those same 2 turns, you have forced fixed colors falling down. You're only going to have fire, wood, dark, and heal orbs. So this quad color active skill tends to be favorable in ranking dungeons, but because there are no skyfalls, you don't get to abuse the potentially infinite combo count that could be achieved. So it's like, I did something really cool, but the no skyfalls prevents it from being utilized as one of the best ranking dungeon solutions, I feel. Akintor, in their base form, I feel like has potential to be strong, but they have too much overlap with other existing cards that it hinders their possible viability. They have nice stats. They have big personal damage. They have super jammer resist. They have the enhanced fire combo. And they have a damage reduction active skill that also creates a 4 elemental board changer with no hearts. So with this active skill, you can tank hits in World of Carnage too, but you have overlap with Shiva. And with Shiva, I feel like Shiva is going to win out because in a vacuum, Akintor, I think, is a stronger card because he has more personal damage, more passive damage, reasonably similar active skill, and you don't need to have the defense break for mono fire teams on World of Carnage 2 because the Dragon Seed has half the effective defense because fire versus wood is twice as effective. So Shiva's active skill is falling behind, and they have the same base cooldown. But the reason why I feel like Shiva will be more favorable is the fact that Shiva gives you super poison resist. And super jam resist is helpful, but if you have Christmas Grimory, which is arguably the best cleric style solution for mono fire teams, you already have super jam resist. So one of them technically goes to waste. And that means you're going to have to possibly struggle to find poison resist somewhere else in your team. And Shiva would have solved that already for yourself. So, like, Akintor, I feel like, is nice, but, like, there's overlap with existing cards, and it just doesn't quite stand out as much, I feel, overall. Like, I feel like I would still choose Grimory and Shiva over Akintor Grimory, just because you get the extra poison resist, and you probably have enough damage output if you're running Senas, because Senas tend to damage cap anyways. For his weapon 1, he gives you Team Health, Team RCV, which is nice bulk. It gives you 60% blind resist, 20% poison resist. But the problem with these small resist cards is that it may be difficult to achieve 100%. If it gives 80%, it's easier because finding 20% or just having 80% resist might be justifiable. But 60% is not going to fly in this day and age. So it's just going to be problematic overall, I feel. And for their weapon 2, it does give so many useful awakenings. Like, these are skill boost, bind immunity, L, team health, bonus movement time, like useful stuff. And it gives you a damage reduction active skill, which is invaluable for World of Carnage 2. But the problem is this negative RCV stat. And this negative RCV is negative 2,000 RCV. And most teams, that's going to be maybe like half or 40% of your total RCV stat. So you've almost essentially cut your healing potential in half. So, unless you're playing teams with outrageously high RCV multipliers or utilizing the Kuroyuri loop, this negative RCV penalty would be too extreme to really overcome, which is a shame because this would be a fantastically powerful weapon assist otherwise. Yama is the next 7-star card, and Yama's active skill can bypass void, or can void damage void mechanics. So you basically can bypass damage void for a single turn, and then you get a bicolor board of wood and light orbs. So they do have VDP, and they do have the potential for strong VDP damage, but you can have the option of letting everyone else in your team deal their full damage, which definitely could be meaningful for like Gills in World of Carnage 2. So everyone has a chance to deal their max damage. Makes it a bit easier to execute him if you're concerned about his 10% kill threshold. But at the same time, Yama is really just a void solution for wood teams. And I feel like he does not surpass Albert or Durand, farmable Durand, as a mono wood void counter, because Albert is just better by comparison. Durand provides more skill boost and a super resist and a lower base cooldown that gives haste and hearts, because Yama doesn't give you the chance to make follow-up attack because there's no heart orbs included in their bicolored board. So Yama, I think, is reasonable, but the fact that a farmable card is surpassing them makes their value definitely go down in my eyes. For their Weapon Assist 1, it has the potential to be tremendously strong because it gives you that skill boost, which everyone loves. It gives you a physical killer, which is highly relevant for World of Carnage 2 because there are many physical spawns after the multi-floor encounters. So being able to deal 3 times personal damage against those spawns is meaningful. And the Wood Roads can help you on the earlier floors because you can make mass attacks more efficiently and deal extra damage. So this weapon assist definitely has value for World of Carnage 2, I feel, but at the same time, like, not everyone's playing through the dungeons, and this weapon will definitely have less value if that's not your target goal. For weapon 2, you have 40% jammer resist and 20% poison and blind. So, like, yes, you could have an easy way to achieve jammer resistance, but the thing is, I feel like this weapon is definitely still outpaced by Samurai 3. And if you are going to be abusing the 4 turns of delay, I still honestly think Red Shelling Forward is better because it gives you 1 skill boost. Obviously, not everyone has Red Shelling Forward, so this could definitely be much stronger. A lot of the times, the value of a card comes down to how does it compare against similar cards. And I just feel like this weapon is not surpassing Shelling Forward because the Orb Skyfall component is kind of wasted. If you're delaying something, you don't really need the extra Orb Skyfalls because, well, you're probably going to be waiting anyways. Now we come to the 6-star cards, and all the 6-star cards have 8 latent slots as well. So, I can't pronounce their name. They have the highly desirable active skill of Unable to Match Orb Effect Clear and Bind and Awoken Bind Clear. So those are things you need to always deal with basically in every given dungeon. So having that on a card is meaningful. They have reasonable personal damage with 777 combo, and they do have too many L's, and that is a problem, I feel, unless you're using Ryume teams. But at the same time, like, I feel like their weapon assist will have much more universal value overall because it provides you with that L unlock, which is helpful. Every team wants to have at least 1 L, and with that, you have the same valuable active skill. So for mono light, mono even water teams, because it does generate light and water orbs, this could be a tremendously powerful solution because you cleared the terrible statuses that you don't want to deal with. You have some jammers, you have the L, which might be difficult to fit in on a given team, and you have orb generation. So at least some component of this active skill will always be beneficial. And this is definitely going to be their most universally helpful form. For their weapon 2, it does give you that damage reduction, which is helpful for World of Carnage 2, but again, the universal appeal of their weapon 1 is much higher overall. For Rajang, Rajang has incredibly overloaded weapons. In their base form, they do look appealing with double 10 combo, but that's all they really bring in their base form, which is big personal damage. Their active skill is a 550 times attack button. That's a monstrously large button. It can execute spawns, and Rajang also has large large attack stat to really capitalize upon it. But the problem is, you want to use this button, you probably want to inherit on someone with an even larger attack stat, so you want to use the weapon assist. And as a sub for Mono Wood, all he does is big damage, and you have other ways to deal big damage. If you have Nadeko teams, you're hitting damage cap on a regular basis anyway, so I don't think Rajang is really going to solve many of those issues, so to speak. So I would be personally looking at their weapon assists. So, for their first weapon, it has a negative health, which is okay, because it's only negative 2,500 health, and you possibly can work around it. You can find ways to ensure you have enough health that you don't jeopardize yourself for key health thresholds. Because once that is achieved, you get so many benefits. You get tape resist, you get attack well below 50%, which is 2 times personal damage for the owning card. You get an L, again, useful utility. You get a skill boost, and you get plus 200 attack stats. So if you need to utilize Rajang's button aspect, use the weapon. You give the owning card even more damage, a skill boost to help him charge up faster, and if you're playing through like non-farming button content, this is still a valuable weapon. It was bringing so many different aspects into one weapon assist. It can definitely free up other slots, and as long as you can overcome the health problem, you'll be fine. And speaking of health problems, his weapon assist 2 solves your health problems because it provides you 3 team health awakenings, which is plus 15%, which is definitely meaningful. But the active skill is 100% damage reduction for a single turn. And damage reduction is vital or mandatory in Worlds of Carnage 2. So you're bringing an active skill that you need to have for the dungeon, and you're giving yourself plus 15% health. There's no losing with this card if you're playing through World of Carnage 2. Obviously, if you don't play through World of Carnage 2, you probably want to utilize like the other Team Health Awakenings and just abuse Weapon 1. But if you're playing through World of Carnage 2, this could be by far the best shielding solution because you give the bulk to possibly even let yourself not need to use a shield outside of Gil's Execute at the end because you might have enough health to tank Ogres or Sun Quan, that sort of idea. So, brilliant weapon assist overall, and it makes me want to have a Rajang. Kieran is much more underwhelming by comparison because Kieran has really just the capacity to function as a mono light farming card. Their active skill provides you with a row of light and plus 3 combos. So yes, you can overcome combo shields. You could utilize it in conjunction with other mono board changes to create like a 4 combo plus 3 VDP board, that sort of idea, which is probably what you want to utilize for the weapon assist. It gives you rows, so if you are someone who utilizes a mono light farming team, this weapon assist may have some value, but at the same time, it's quite situational overall. Not many people have mono light farming team necessarily. Maybe they use other colors for farming. So Kieran, I feel, is too situational overall. For their weapon assist 2, they have Cloud Resist and 3 Enhanced Light Orbs, which can be reasonable for mono light teams, but there are many strong Cloud Resist weapons already available, and the active skill generates 9 Light Orbs and 2 turns of 3 times attack. So, like, it's not terrible, but it's not truly great or magical in any regards. I don't think it's going to necessarily be the first weapon assist you think about bringing for even mono light teams for Cloud Resist, but again, maybe you do need to have an attack buff somewhere on your team, and this could be a way to do that. Rathalos, all his value is found in his weapon 2. As base form, it's just not enough to outpace the other mono fire subs available. Weapon 1 is just really passive damage, and there are lots of ways to get passive damage, I feel. And it's Weapon 2 that does give passive damage, but in a more efficient manner, because I feel that enhanced combos are the superior form of passive damage, and you get 2 orb enhances. So just from the Awakenings, this is a useful card, but the active skill is great. The active skill gives you the ability to unlock all orbs, so nice against locked orbs, and changes the top row to fire orbs. So it's always going to have value even if you don't use the second component. You get board unlock and orb generation, so it's going to be helpful at least. But if you do need the second effect is so powerful because you have 2 turns of color absorb counter. And Color Absorb is found everywhere nowadays. If you're a mono fire team, you're going to have potentially 2 floors of Color Absorb. Denbola early on and Green Manoa later on. So you're going to need to bring this because Denbola is a 50% chance to appear. So Suncore, with a 10-turn cooldown, has the capacity to overcome these spawns. And even if you don't encounter them, you have the passive damage and you have orb generation. So there's no real losing with this weapon assist overall. For Glavenus, I feel that they can be a reasonable mono fire solution for machine type spawns, but the problem is Pixel Napoleon does this better. Pixel Napoleon has infinitely higher personal damage. It's not to say Glavenus has low personal damage, but Pixel Napoleon is just way higher. And Pixel Napoleon gives you the option to potentially kill spawns without necessarily transforming leaders. You could kill the gears on floor 1 and World of Carnage 1 without transforming, which can definitely save team building. For myself, I remember utilizing Pixel Napoleon for my Rajang Fasca team, and I never even transformed Fasca until like floor 4, I think, because Pixel Napoleon was able to kill the gears on floor 1 and the floor 3 spawn just because they do so much damage anyways. So Glavenus can't do that. So I guess it's kind of nice, but if you have Pixel Napoleon, I would look into their Weapon 1, because their Weapon 1 is unique. You get tape resist, and you also have 2 enhanced material killers and 2 evolution killers. And that's 9 times personal damage for the Oni card. And if you ever are encountering spawns with this typing, this is going to be a tremendously efficient weapon assist to overcome them. And I can definitely foresee this being a potential weapon assist used in World of Carnage 2 if your team struggles to kill the Dragon Seed on floor 2, because giving your card 9 times personal damage will greatly improve the chances of you overcoming their 2 billion defense threshold. And at the same time, if we do start seeing more dungeons with these typings appear, Glavenus' weapon will be even more meaningful. For Glavenus' second weapon, it gives you a healer killer, team health, and a skill bind resist. So, okay, Awakenings. Healer killer is kind of situational, but it does help you kill Sun Quan, which might be helpful for, I think Sun Quan's healer, I'm pretty sure, in World of Carnage 2, which could be helpful for fire teams. And it does give you a delay along with orb movement time and an attack buff. So, depending on your team composition, you might not have many ways to give yourself attack buff or movement time buff, so it can be a way to override them. The little bit of delay for 3 turns definitely can help you transform. Yes, Red Shelling Fort is superior, but Red Shelling Fort gives different benefits, so if you have both options, this might be a possible solution if you don't need as much delay or an extra skill boost. Mizu Tsun, in their base form, they are a fantastically strong healing solution because they have an exceptionally large RCV stat, and they have 3 team RCVs. So you have the capacity to heal large amounts of health on a regular basis, but their active skill with an 8-turn cooldown gives you 3 times RCV for 6 turns, 1 bonus second of orb movement time for 6 turns, and 6 turns of Hard Orb Skyfalls being enhanced at plus 15%. So basically, for those 6 turns, which is almost completely loopable with one of them, you're going to have basically unlimited healing, extra movement time, and tons of hard orbs falling down. That is definitely a cool way to solve healing solutions, but at the same time, you have to dedicate an entire active skill slot, and I feel like that is kind of unfortunate, but maybe you could justify it because they do have meaningful personal damage, but at the same time, I feel like killing off an entire active skill for this is a little costly. For their Weapon 1, it's a fantastic way to layer in bonus healing for a given card because you have Enhanced Hard Orb and 2 Team RCVs. So slapping this onto a card with high base healing means that a 4 match of hearts gives big bonus, and then everyone else is also healing more anyway. So wonderfully efficient way to layer in additional healing, and if your team needs additional healing output, this might just be the most efficient way possible overall. For Weapon 2, I think it's too situational. With a 5-turn cooldown that doesn't have the strongest effect, it runs the risk of overcharging far too often, and the Awakenings are highly situational. Follow-up attack is not necessarily needed very often. 20% resist to everything is just not that efficient, unfortunately, so I would really just stick with Weapon 1, I feel, because it offers a much more unique niche it can fulfill. Valfalk has basically no value in their base form and their Weapon 1, so I'm just going to skip down to Weapon 2 because this is the one that has the most appeal. Weapon 2 has the Enhanced Dark Orb combo, which is the most efficient way to layer in passive damage, and has a Team Health Awakening and I guess 1 Poison Resist. But the drawback is this active skill is kind of weak. It's only 3 times attack for Dragon-type spawns and shuffling all orbs. So you could replace a bad board, but you probably don't want this to overcharge, and the Awakenings are nice. It can add extra damage in some bulk, but they're not necessarily countering mechanics. This active skill and Awakenings don't provide utility against mechanics. If there are dangerous mechanics, it's much more important to counter the mechanic than give yourself a bit more passive damage. So I think this weapon assist is nice, but at the same time, it's not the highest priority to bring on a given team. For Leginia, they are tremendously strong now because they become one of the best mono water clerics in the game. And when I say cleric, it means they have the capacity to clear binds, awoken binds, and unable to match orb effects. Because they can clear 7 turns of those with an 8-turn cooldown, while also having respectable personal damage due to their high base attack in either 777 combo or 777 combo if you don't choose that Super Awakening, and 3 or 4 Team Health Awakenings. So these Team Health Awakenings will add significant bulk, and it may enable your team to survive new health thresholds that you wouldn't have been able to do so beforehand. For example, in World of Carnage 2, Sun Quan has a large unavoidable hit. And if you can survive that without using a shield, it makes your life easier. Same logic can be applied to the Ogres or the Gem Floor as well. If you can tank those without using damage reduction, your life becomes much easier, and that's exactly what this card does. Now, you do have to be aware that they do have overlap with Goldfish Girl, because Goldfish Girl provides you 3 more skill boosts, super jam resist, and a lower base cooldown, but at the same time, she has much less health. So you have to decide, what do you need more? Do you need more skill boosts and a faster charging active, or do you need more health and more damage? The decision of what you are going to utilize will come down to what you're playing through at this point in time. So still a tremendously strong card, but their weapon assists are also powerful. For their weapon 1, same active skill, but I feel like as a weapon, 7 turns of clearing may not necessarily be enough. Looking at World of Carnage 2, the Ogres are a 10-turn bind, so this is obviously not sufficient enough. So you just have to be mindful of the fact that may not be enough. But again, you can utilize this for the Water Roast to deal bonus damage for your mono water teams. But if that's not appealing, Weapon 2 is also strong because it gives a skill boost, full bind immunity, 2 orb enhances, and a valuable active skill. So just looking at the Awakenings alone, you're basically like a Chinese Celestial, which is valuable. We know the Chinese Celestials are helpful weapon assists, but this active skill is much stronger. This active skill gives you heart orbs instead of 3 colors, still a tricolor board changer, so you can at least heal, but there is a 2-turn delay as well. And with a 2-turn delay, you are able to potentially buy yourself additional effective skill boosts, because you can delay floor 1 and then transform more easily. But for mono water teams, you can delay floor 1 for the gear in World of Carnage 1 who has a water absorb right away. So you can delay it so you can actually overcome that water absorb spawn. So I think this is a wonderfully valuable active skill. Helps you transform, gives you a beneficial active skill, useful awakenings. So you either need to decide, can you utilize the weapon 2 or their base form more if you only have a single copy. For Brackie Dios, he's very good at killing devil type spawns, but the problem is it's going to be hard to justify utilizing him in traditional content, because as a sub, all you do is damage. Your active skill is underwhelming for like World of Carnage or arena style content. But if you need button farming, he could be a strong button card due to his large attack stat and 350 times attack button. So it's doing a bunch of different stuff, so you have to decide what you need more. So I don't necessarily want to utilize him for like arena style content. You probably want to utilize him as a button, but at the same time, if you're just utilizing it for the button, you might find more value in the weapon assist. 1, because in their first weapon assist, it's the same active skill that does create 2 rows of jammers, which is useless for arena style content. But you get the same big button, so you could potentially inherit it on top of something with a larger attack stat. But you also get 4 enhanced light orbs and attack wall above 80%. So attack wall above 80% potentially gives a bit more damage for the Oni card if your health is high enough. And the orb enhances are nice passive damage. The main drawback is the active skill is garbage if it charges up, and charges up for non-button content, and it is not going to provide you with resists or any way to counter mechanics. It's just something you slap onto your team if you have extra inherit slots open because you've countered everything already. For their weapon 2, it has 75% damage reduction and then the ability to make the whole board of jammer and light orbs. So it's kind of a weird board changer with damage reduction. So maybe World of Carnage 2, maybe you need it for like the mono light teams if you need something to be bind immune and the team health. Or maybe you just utilize it for the bind immunity plus team health if you need that extra bit of health instead of a Chinese Celestial to hit key thresholds. But at the same time, if you're not utilizing, like there are other bind immune cards with 3 team health. So unless you're using the active skill, like it's just doing a bit of everything, but not necessarily excelling in one particular aspect. For Gore Magdala, Gore's has been drastically upgraded due to their active skill. They now have become a powerful cleric card because of their active skill fully clears bind awoken binds and unable to match up effects and removing hazards to dark. He also has respectable personal damage. They have cloud resist naturally. They have great damage against god type spawns. But the main drawback is it's only 2 skill boosts, which is kind of low for most cleric cards. Many cleric cards have more skill boosts. And he does have large overlap with the superior I can't say his name, but the 8-star card for the Monogatari collab. If you have him, he's a better choice for a sub. And that can be disappointing, but thankfully he has 2 powerful weapon assists. For his weapon assist 1, it gives you a healer killer, an L, and 3 orb enhances. So obviously mono dark teams make the most value out of it, but an L is always helpful, and healer killer does give you extra personal damage against healer type spawns, but it's this powerful active skill that you're going to be truly interested in, because this active skill provides the same cleric benefits as beforehand, and kind of like the first 6-star card, the light one, similar idea. You can inherit this off color and still find value in it due to the fact that it has this active skill you truly desire, and putting this on top of a card with, say, a low base cooldown does kind of enable them to function as a powerful cleric with additional utility from the L. For their weapon assist 2, it gives 2 team RCVs, which does help healing, a big finger for more movement time, and a unique active skill. This active skill provides you with 1 turn of damage absorb counter and color absorb counter. That's incredibly fast for an 11-turn cooldown, and you get a tricolored board changer of dark, hearts, and poison orbs. So, obviously this active skill is overtuned in terms of the cooldown for tricolor plus those absorb counters, but the problem is the inclusion of poison orbs. So, if your team is immune to poison damage, like let's say you're running Yugi, cool, you don't care. Or you have a team with large enough RCV, it won't matter. But at the same time, those poison orbs could be absolutely devastating. You might get RNG'd into oblivion with 3 dark, 3 hearts, and 26 poison orbs. You never know. Gung-Ho might do something like that just to surprise you. But the point of the matter is, if you can overcome this poison board aspect, this can be a tremendously strong weapon assist. But just be aware that if you're utilizing cards like Mikaj or Araragi, I can't pronounce their names, they need 2 different colors to activate, so this board changer is inappropriate. So, pretty niche of who can utilize it, I feel, but powerful if you are able to utilize it. And then finally, for the last 6-star card, we come to Sergios. So in their base form, they do have large amounts of machine killer potential, but we have possibly other ways to do machine killer potential because you need to match TPAs and 10 combos, which may not necessarily be doable for most teams. And the active skill, while interesting, I don't think provides enough value. This active skill is a 10-turn cooldown and provides 9 turns of 30% damage reductions and 9 turns of +1 combo count. So yes, you did give yourself 30% more damage reduction, but this is probably not enough damage reduction to allow you to survive the big hits in World of Carnage 2. And in World of Carnage 1, you can't even survive Raphael's gravity if you had no other sources of damage reduction. So it's a weak value shield that lasts for a long time but doesn't actually counter the dangerous mechanics you need to overcome. And that same logic applies to their weapon assist. It does give those benefits, which is cool. It does give a tape resist and the enhanced combo orb, so it's not the end of the world for your mono light teams, but at the same time, I feel like it's just an underwhelming, it's just not providing enough value overall. For their weapon 2, it gives you the same enhanced combo orb, which is nice, 100% defense break, and 6 light orbs, and then 2 turns of attack buff. So you can definitely utilize this to pierce through the defense of the Dragon Seed in World of Carnage 2. It lasts for 2 turns, so that means even water teams could overcome it. Obviously, the Awakenings don't necessarily benefit water teams, so I feel like if this was a water-based card, it could be a bit more valuable because water teams need a way to kill the Dragon Seed in World of Carnage 2. Whew. And now we come to the 5-star cards. And the 5-star cards are okay. They definitely have more merits for underdeveloped boxes because they can provide you with resists, which may not have been available otherwise through weapon assists. But with that being said, if you have a well-developed box and you have many of these cards already, rolling another one is going to feel a little painful overall. So, the first 5-star card I can't pronounce, but in their base form, I don't really feel like it provides much value whatsoever. They're not really achieving anything overall, and their weapon assist gives you a balanced killer and orb enhances. So, like, I feel like if you need a way to gain balanced killer for a weapon, this is at least a bit more unique compared to their base form. Actually, I should mention all these cards, because they're 5 stars, for those 5-star challenges, which happens from time to time, these might have some possible value, but again, not necessarily worth the reason why you pursue them. Raytheon, in their base form, they do have actually a strong personal damage against physical and healer type cards if you can hit 10 combos, and they do potentially have 4 effective or 5 effective skill boosts if you forgo the 10 combo Super Awakening, because they have a 2-turn delay, but it's just not a card you want to utilize if you have other options available. For their weapon assist, it's 60% poison resist, which was great at the time, but right now we have Samurai 3, we have Super Resist, and it's going to be the same problem with all the other 60% cards here, because they just don't provide enough value compared to other options. Tigrex, I don't think has ever been helpful. They create a tricolor board of fire, wood, and jammers. No one can utilize this well. Jammer meta is not a thing. It's just sad. It's just awkward. Their weapon is this same sad awkwardness. Maybe you can say 300 attack, but even then, no, there are just better ways to achieve this. It's just awkward. Narg, I can't say their name, but in their base form, you might have some value creating a haste system, because of their 7-turn base cooldown, you can have 4 of these types of cards, so you can mix like the raccoons from the Mystics and Spectres event, and basically you can create columns of Dark Orbs, and if you have 4 of these types of actives, you can use 1 active every single turn. If you have like Triple O from Kamen Rider, it's a great, easy way to farm content, but at the same time, pretty situational overall. But again, it's just something worth keeping in the back of your mind that there is a haste system. Their weapon gives you 3 or 60% blind resist. It's helpful if you don't have any other options, of course. Gammoth has never been helpful. I think I've kept Gammoth at like D ranking almost every single event. I don't know if he's ever gone higher than D, but it's been D for the last while, and he keeps that streak going. Like, Gammoth is doing something consistent. He's consistently bad. He's not even a dragon, which was kind of weird to me. I think everyone's a dragon but him. Their weapon assist is just garbage. Not even garbage can, just garbage. For Astalos. Astalos has meaningful TPA damage with Zerakor's weapon assist, because it's about 68 times personal damage with a high attack stat, which means they can function as a rainbow TPA damage solution who can carry the VDP latent. And their active skill gives you a 2-turn delay, which could be essentially 4 effective skill boosts. The problem is Rajang grossly surpasses Astalos in terms of damage potential and much lower base cooldown, and just more efficient card overall. And I honestly think that if you've been playing Pad for at least a couple of months, you probably have a Rajang, because of the 6-star Fest exchange event we had a month or 2 ago. You were able to acquire a Rajang. So I feel like most people have Rajang, and I would use Rajang over Astalos in the vast majority of situations. Their weapon assist provides you 3 unusual killers, but unlike Glavenus, who gives you at least 2 of the same kind, they don't stack. And I don't think there is going to be really any spawn that has these typings overlapping. So it's kind of like a very generic, very budgety weapon assist. I still feel like their base form probably has more merits compared to a really situational weapon assist that probably is surpassed by other things. Barioth is still bad. Like, maybe you think, well, it's a 2-turn delay plus board changer, but I would never want to utilize them as a sub. And this weapon, like, the active skill is okay, but the weapon provides no useful awakenings. Like, these are not helpful awakenings, so I would never really justify utilizing this weapon assist for a given team, I feel. Maybe if you can think of a truly unique and novel way to use them, let me know in the comments down below. Finally, we come to Palomoof, the last card in this event. Holy fish cakes, there are so many things here. And in their base form, they could be an okay healer-killer solution. But if you have other healer-killer solutions, the value of it kind of goes down, I feel. It's not the greatest in terms of like the attack stat either. For their weapon assist, it gives you 60% jam resist and a board changer that gives you water, dark, and hearts, and then orb movement time. So it's not as horrible if it overcharges, because a tricolor board changer can definitely be utilized by mono, water, or dark teams. But again, It's the resist that you're probably really gunning for. And if you have the better resist weapons available to yourself, you're not going to be utilizing Lumu's Smasher. I utilized it when it first came out. I don't utilize it anymore. So, do I plan to roll and my dream rolls? So, I do not plan on rolling within the Monster Hunter Collab on my Mantastic account due to the fact that I have far too many of the bottom rarity cards that rolling them is just not going to spark joy, which means 40% of them are going to be sad. And I also have quite a few of the 6-star cards, mostly like the older ones, so to speak, and not necessarily all of them, but at the same time, getting like my 4th Brackie Dios, for example, is not going to be helpful. So I just feel like I don't have enough value to justify rolling. Maybe a bit on Fantastic because they've rolled a little less, but I haven't decided at this point in time. But with that being said, it's always fun to dream, and in my dreams, I see Velkana coming to me. I just see him appearing. I like blue. Blue is my favorite color, so I'm always happy when a blue card is strong. And I actually do have quite a strong water box. I have Dina, I have Norza, I have Crab Girl, I have Monkey Girl. I probably have others, but those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head that I already own. I have Goldfish Girl too. So like the point of the matter is I could definitely put together a strong and competent mono water team, and Velkana is such a powerful leader. I might even monster exchange for him. I haven't decided, but I'm thinking about it. For my dream 6-star card, Rajang is just overloaded. I don't have him. So many great weapon assists. I don't know which one I would utilize, but it gives me options. But I feel like I might be utilizing their weapon assist 2 if I'm playing through World of Carnage 2, which is definitely something I can play through. And then finally, for my 5-star dream card, it's kind of a default to Yan Kutku because I don't actually own them. I don't really care about owning them, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to pick them. So, in conclusion, wow, look at all this scrolling. The Monster Hunter collab is a terribly top-heavy affair. The bottom rarity has been severely neglected by comparison, but at the same time, the 6 and 7-star cards are all tremendously powerful, and essentially, if you roll one of them, they're going to probably find value in your monster box. And if you are truly gung-ho about these cards and you've already rolled too many times, you can definitely utilize the monster exchange system to pick out those key 7-stars that will hopefully catapult your account to clearing harder content. With that being said, let me know what you think about this event in the comments below. Do you plan on rolling? Who are your dream rolls? And what were you actually able to acquire? Either way, hopefully all the fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.